So if you needed a reminder that Lucasfilm also owns Indiana Jones, this episode definitely gives you that. Oh my goodness. How's everyone doing today, guys? My name's Codes, and we are here with the Bad Batch Season 5 Bad Batch Season 2, Episode 5, or Episode 21 of the series, Entombed. And this is an interesting... So, I don't usually do this. Usually when I watch an episode, I usually go straight to this video. Like, I usually just watch the episode, film, try and get it out. And I know these episodes come out on Wednesdays, but Wednesdays aren't really great days for me to work on stuff, to watch things, so I push it back a day. So I watch it and then I just do the video because I just want to give my personal thoughts. This episode, on the other hand, was weird because I get to the end of this episode and I'm thinking, interesting, but what really happens? Like, how much do we really gain from this episode? Like, the last episode at least gave us a little bit in terms of like tech and just, again, it introduced something new that was really cool, and you can easily see it a part of the Star Wars world, along with the fact that, oh, that can become a video game kind of. This one, on the other hand, this just felt weird because, you know, again, like, not much really happens in terms of the grand story, at least on the surface level, but there are interesting questions that can come from this, and that's, I guess, it's kind of the point. But yeah, I mean, I went on IMDb to see like the ratings on these episodes, and I noticed that this episode and last episode are below 7, and honestly, a part of me kind of feels bad for them, because I mean, again, I like those. Last week's episode I really enjoyed, but yeah, in terms of like, well, what's the grand story? What really does it add? It doesn't really add much. It's a nice little filler episode, and it's like, okay, yeah, I guess I mean, they're already taking a bunch of stuff from the 80s with the fact that this is the Bad Batch. You know, you got the Brood, you got the leader, you got the smart one, you got Tech, who's kind of like the smart one, you got Echo, who's kind of like the oddball. I mean, Wrecker is the brute that's not very smart. It's just, so they're already implementing stuff from like the classic shows about these military groups and teams and whatnot. So I'm not surprised that there's also these like fillerish kind of episodes. But I guess people who are like really wanting to know the story and want to keep it going, because that's kind of what it is nowadays, they want that. But this episode doesn't really do that. It's just another little filler episode. But like I said, it does have a few implications as to what could come down the line. And that's because in this episode, it's the group, along with Phee, or Wanda Sykes' character, who they travel to desolation. Sorry, I having too many words coming out my mouth at once. This desolated planet that's just looks like scorched earth, pretty much. And I don't know why, but a part of me just felt like it's like either looked like something out of like The Witcher or Lord of the Rings with Mordor, or just like even from Thor Love and Thunder, just that one planet, that moon they're on, where it's just complete black and white and it's just nothing. So that's kind of what I felt like when they landed on this planet. And the reason why they're there is because Omega found a compass that shows them the way to a lost treasure, a hidden treasure, and that's exactly what gets Wanda Sykes' character Phee on board for it. Is she's basically like, ooh, I know where this is. We can go find it. We can go get this treasure. We can make a fortune. And it's just, and of course the group is like, I don't know. And then Wanda Sykes is basically like, okay, sure. If you don't want to come, I'll just take the whole loot. So basically they tag along because, I mean, again, they're looking for a big score. So if they get this, that's a pretty big score. But Omega especially is really excited for this one because I guess just with her, you know, she really likes to see other people now. I mean, like, we saw her relationship with Sid kind of grow. Now we get to see kind of a relationship with Phee grow. I mean, because again, she's only had like one other interaction with her, and that was at the first episode of the season. You know, this like, this one's too big, this one's too small, this one, and still, she also, just the idea of going on a treasure hunt really piques her interest as well. And I can see that. I can see, because she's a kid, you know, she's wanting this excitement, and it's just, yeah, sure, it's not like a big grand adventure. I mean, they literally say that in this episode. Well, we're not going on any missions right now. Why don't we do this? It's fun. It'll be fun. It's so, again, I think it's just more just like, you have to really understand that. I mean, season 1 had these episodes, and I guess just some people being like, hoping that they push past it. I mean, I remember when I was watching Amphibia, and people were hoping when they got to season 3, and part of me kind of was wondering how they were going to do season 3 as well. Like, are they going to keep are they going to keep the serious attitude and go with more storylines here and there? And they kind of do, but they also have those little fun episodes that are more focused on building relationships, building ideas, or just having a nice lesson that works with the characters that they're going with, and just being fun. And that's exactly what this episode is. It's just nice and fun, and like I said, it maybe hammers in and that it owns Indiana Jones a little too much, because they go to this planet, they find this mountain, they run into this mountain, basically. That's such a weird sentence. And they're like, and they realize that they have to go inside the mountain, because the treasure that they're looking for is known as the heart of the mountain. And I just immediately thought Hobbit, you know, with the Arkenstone, and just being like, oh my god, are we doing this? And then they get into the first room, and all of a sudden you just hear like this, you hear basically what sounds like Indiana Jones, because you got the trumpets, you got the and I'm thinking like, oh my god, this is so freaking. And then of course I'm like trying to think, well, what? Yeah, this kind of. I mean, if they're going for this jewel, the heart of the mountain, like, yeah, it kind of does feel like there's kind of like these booby traps that happen. You know, the first room is interesting. You got a bunch of like the walls you can shift around, and they got to match the symbols. And at first, you know, they just like, okay, let's just shift this and see what happens. They get locked in, and then Omega realizes, no, that the compass, it has a little like you know, you can see through it. So she casts the light, it shines around the room, shows the symbols that you actually do need to line up. Nice little first puzzle. They keep going through, and then eventually they get attacked by, I don't know what the creature was, but it kind of looked like a baby Zillo beast to me. You know, from Clone Wars, it kind of looked like a baby version of that. And I'm thinking, maybe, I don't know, nice little question there. But it just comes in and attacks them, and it gets them separated. But honestly, it feels weird that they get separated. I think the only reason for this separation is so they get to the next trap, and it seems like straightforward enough. You know, you just gotta walk through this tunnel that's circular, kind of like a pipe. But then Omega realizes that it's kind of like the second trap in freaking Last Crusade, where, you know, Indiana's gotta spell out his name, you know, like I gotta land on the right letters, or I'm gonna fall through the floor. And that's almost what happens here. Except the thing is, you have the floor that you need to actually walk across is on the ceiling. So unfortunately, Omega doesn't get to Hunter in time about that. Hunter falls to the floor, and luckily he's got a grappling hook at the ready, and he is able to fly back up. And it was kind of interesting to see that, because I'm just like, you didn't. I mean, because again, a nice little moment to show that Hunter isn't always on point. I mean, he's had a few moments in the show where he's seemingly like this, knows everything, knows what's coming, and like the creature that attacks, like he felt that thing coming. But here he doesn't know that, oh, I step on this, I'm gonna fall to the floor. But luckily his reaction time is on point, fires a grappling hook, comes back up, and Omega then is able to activate the tunnel with the compass and flip it. Unfortunately, the compass also can't be removed, so they have to continue on without it. But then they get through the tunnel, and then of course there comes Tech Echo, and Wrecker. So I'm like thinking, oh, was the only reason for their separation just so they can get through this tunnel without like having to worry about Wrecker, Tech, and Echo? Like, is that really the point? Like, that was like the one thing in this episode where I'm just like, okay. I mean, at least in the last episode when you had Tito or Teo with Ben Schwartz's droid character. At least with that, it was like they repaired him once because they think, oh, okay, subverting expectations, because the classic, like, oh, I can't do it, you gotta do it kind of thing. This time around, at least when they pull the rug out from under you and they destroy him a second time, it's out of nowhere and kind of comedic and a little dark. So this I just like. What? Why did you do that? Disney, are you just like putting a post-it note like, do this, separated? It happens in a lot of movies when you're going through and you're finding this secret treasure kind of thing. I don't know. But they eventually do get to the heart of the mountain, which is this kind of like this jewel thing that's on a. I mean, I can't really describe it. I've seen kind of versions of it. It kind of looks like it looks like one of those like buildings you would see off in the distance, like one of those more like newer one of these new skyscraper designs that you would see. Except this is just a purple gem. And so Phee, she's able to climb up to it, and again you have the Omega back off in this, like in Raiders of the Lost Ark with Alfred Molina, doing this while Indiana Jones grabs the idol. And that's they do that, and then they pull it out, and I'm thinking, okay, the temple's gonna start falling apart. They gotta get out. They're probably gonna be like, is Phee trustworthy? Is she gonna run off without us with the jewel or something? And I'm like, where is this gonna go? I saw this in the trailer, and even when it was happening, I'm like thinking, we're doing it this early? And so they discover that the heart of the mountain itself is this gigantic mech. Like this gigantic machine that looks like a combination of. It looks like the Tallneck from Horizon Zero Dawn, the fourth Colossi from Shadow of the Colossus, maybe something kind of does also look kind of like the Zephos things, and that's kind of what this whole temple is. This little temple is. It kind of feels like the Zepho from Jedi Fallen Order, and it's just. It looks so freaking. It's insane how this was just hiding in the mountain, and the thing that activates it is not you don't plug in a power source, you take out the power source, because when they take it out, all of a sudden you see this energy go into the mech, and it activates it and bursts out of the mountain, which was such a crazy image, and just seeing it on this desolate planet. At night, just firing constant blue beams all around, just wrecking, causing havoc. You're like, jeez, what the heck was this? Like, who would make this and have it operate like this? Because it literally just continually firing off shots. So eventually the group has to get the gem back in the port, which of course they're like, oh man, but this is our take. But of course they don't have a choice, as Tech points out. He's like, that thing can hit the ship and we can be stranded here. It's like, fair enough. So, but the beast attacks one more time, so there's a little bit of a scuffle. But Wrecker is able to throw it out the window, which is pretty freaking insane. Then they plug the gem back in, and you can see like. Instead of like you would think, oh, like maybe usually when you plug in something, you see power going out from the source that you're plugging back to the machine. But here you actually see the light from the machine go back into the gem, because again, it kind of like was the shutdown key in a way. And then the mech comes down, the gem unfortunately melts, which was very freaking insane. And it's interesting, again, when, like, the whole thing, so the gem gets destroyed, the mech gets destroyed, and this planet remains isolated, decimated, and the group just gets back to the ship, and so really what comes from this is just, like, an adventure with Phee, and, yeah, Phee kind of had to trust him on this, and there was a moment where the gem falls, and Vee's got to go grab it, and she nearly falls to her death, while Hunter is able to rescue her. in this pinnacle moment of the whole episode is, and yeah, and like I said, Omega kind of builds a relationship with Phee, you know, and she's building relationships with these people that are all older than her, but, you know, they're actually good per se people, you know, it's not like Fennec Shand or Cad Bane where she's kind of dealing with them and she has to, you know, she can't trust them. Here she's actually building kind of these relationships with people despite the fact that they're pirates, smugglers, yada yada yada, but they're still nice to her, like. And also, like, I guess destroying that mech also helped out because, you know, if anyone comes back to that planet, then unbeknowingly wakens it or finds out about it and wants to use it for evil or something. So I guess there is a little bit of a reason why. But again, it's like, who knows if down the line you want that this episode's going to come back up, you know? I mean, geez, Star Wars Rebels, we had an episode with space whales and that came back so hard. But who knows? I mean, for me, I'm just glad it was just a nice, fun little episode. I don't mind it. I liked some of the callbacks. I liked some of the moments. And like I said, I just like the idea of having that giant mech. I just wish it didn't come this early in the season. Like, I felt like it was actually going to be a big part of the season somehow. Like, maybe this was going to be, or at the very least, it was going to be some guy's secret base. And then he was going to come after the Bad Batch, or like he was going to be like unleash it. Like, that's what I thought it was going to be. Who knows? Maybe that will be a thing. Like, maybe this isn't the only giant thing that we see in the show. And like I said, it kind of reminded me of the Zepho from Jedi Fallen Order. So maybe they're going to try and implement the Zepho a little bit into this. I mean, just like how they kind of are hinting at how maybe Palpatine gets cloned in the new trilogy. You know, that's kind of the thing with some of these shows. Like, they're trying to be their own thing, but they're also trying to fix the other trilogies. So, I don't know. But, yeah, no, like I said, this episode was totally fine. Sure, maybe in the grand scheme of things, not big or important, but again, for me, I just had fun with it, and that's enough for me for this episode. So, yeah, so that's what I got for this week. So hopefully you guys enjoyed, and if you guys aren't fans of these kind of filler episodes, that's fine, but I'm sure with how the Bad Batch works, they'll have like a big episode coming up, so we shall see.